and it's live, just like that, And there's a few of us here, few of us of the realm of the Morelia. Eric has been out of town in Florida with some family stuff, and you know how it goes when you take time off, you got to make up for it at work. So he's at work today. Owen is Owen's always at work when we're doing this. He's the Clark Kent Superman thing, you know, insurance man by day, reptile guru / superhero by the rest of the day.
Oligarch all the time. 24/7.
Yeah, exactly. And Alan popped in and filled in last week and helped with the brainstorming, so that was cool. So now you're here. You're breaking away from your studies. You're back from the mountains. You've refreshed. You've had mountain air. You've had time away from the world. How do you feel?
I'm feeling great. I definitely kind of got my butt kicked by the altitude when I was out there. It's like 8,000 feet or something like that. And I got home and I was like, oh, I did feel weird because now I'm back at sea level and I just feel like fantastic. But yeah, no, things are good. I've already told you, but just for everybody else, when I got back, obviously I was doing my rounds, checking on each animal, making sure everybody was good. Wasn't gone that long, but you know, you want to make sure everything's going good when you get back. And I pulled out all the bredli females to see what was going on with them, because I left all my pairs together when I was gone, kind of with the hope that not having me moving around the room would maybe even spur more breeding, less disturbance. But yeah, the hypo het striped female, I'm almost positive is gravid. She is just freaking huge and solid, feels like she swallowed rocks, and she refused food for the first time.
Nice.
Since I got her, so really exciting. And then this morning got a lock from the double het stonewash stripe pair, so nice. I'm feeling great. I'm in a good mood.
There you go.
All this cool down cycling business that I've been doing since November, it seems like it might actually pay off this year. So
are you guys getting crazy heat over there on that side of the bay right now?
It's going to be like 80 today, which is the Oakland version of 100.
we've been hitting some 90s days. It's like I'm used to it once we ease into it, but like dropping it on me out of nowhere, not ready for it. You gotta give me a heads up. Let me work into it. But going from like 70 to 85 and 90 overnight is like, hold on.
I know. I feel rattled because I was in like 20 degrees snowing, and now it's this. Now it's like proper summer. I'm gonna catch on fire.
And the wind is picking up now, so it's like spread fire, spread allergies. Let's do it all. California, baby.
That's right, exactly.
Oh my gosh, it's killing me. I'm just staying inside.
As for the best, I will be as well, because we're doing this, and then I got to take a final. I'm not going outside.
I'm trying to work up the energy and the motivation to do some big cage overhauls. So the 4-foot cage that's right there,
nice 4-foot vision.
Yeah, and then this 6-foot cage need full overhauls. Not really looking forward to.
Do you have AC?
No.
Oh boy.
And the 4-footer, that's no problem. Like that's easy enough to do. It's big. It's not hard. The 6-footer, I have to like lay on my stomach, crawl in, like you know what I mean. And it's just really
that'll be
not keen on it.
That'll be quite an adventure for you. That's one of those ones where you blast the music, shirt off, just get after it.
It needs to happen. It's going to be messy. I just need to accept it and then just do it. It'll be good though. I did a half clean on the Madagascar giant hogs cage because they needed it too. And so half of their cage got new bedding, and I'm like, gosh, I really need to do this. Like Rainbows got some refreshed bedding because Cocoa Blocks, we just got some more back in the shop, so I grabbed a bunch of bricks of that. And
I got to get some of that so that I can try to copy you guys' incubation strategy.
Oh yeah, it's fun. I mean, in theory, you could do anything that holds water, but
true.
Yeah,
it could do like a wet perlite and then the polyfill on top of that.
Yeah, I mean, you could really do anything. The whole point of the Cocoa Blocks is just it's a random substance that will hold the moisture.
Got it. It doesn't matter what it is.
More or less, yeah. Okay. And I think I added too much moisture to one of my Crebo egg boxes because some of the eggs had like a little fuzzy tint to them, and I was like,
"Oh yeah,
no." So I literally like lifted the polyfill with all the eggs, pulled it out, and like poured excess water out of the bin, put it back, wiped the sides, you know.
Nice.
Like, all right, hopefully,
nice.
You know, that'll stop the stem of it. But then I was scrolling through Facebook earlier, and I remember somebody else was talking about eggs and mold and stuff and using springtails. And I remember Garrett Hartle talking about that. And so now I'm like, if I open that egg box later and there's a little bit of mold in there tomorrow, I'm going to go buy a culture of springtails. I'm just going to chuck springtails in each of those boxes. And
yeah, I'm super intrigued by that. That's something that just makes sense, but I've never thought of before. Like they're not going to harm the eggs. Right. I mean,
they just eat mold, fungus, organic detritus, you know, decaying matter.
Yeah, that seems like a low risk, high reward thing to toss in that egg.
Yeah, box. It's essentially like people will apply like foot powder to the fungus, and it's the same thing except you don't have to actually like reapply or do anything. You literally just add springtails and you're good.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to do that because we've got a bunch at the shop. So, and I'd really, really, really hate to lose any of these eggs, you know? So, and it's another, I mean, those eggs are only 33 days in. So there's another, well, I don't even know how many they've got.
How long do Crebo go? Yep. You there?
Yeah, sorry, my internet's not that great.
All good.
I was just saying, yeah, those eggs are only 33 in, so at a 110 and 120, they're got a long way to go. So
wow, they go 110, 120. Okay.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah, it's quite some time. So while those are still cooking, I will let's see, the Citrus Tiger maternal incubation eggs will hatch in 3 weeks or so. The Coastal clutch that's in the incubator will hatch a few weeks after that. So I'll have had several clutches hatch before those Crebos are even ready. So that'll be interesting. Nice. I still have to go through it and solder all the air holes in 45 of these baby tubs. And I'm not like fancy.
That's fun.
I'm not fancy, so I don't have like a soldering iron like rig. Like, have you ever seen the guys that they'll get like a bunch of cheap ones. They'll somehow fasten them together, make a little wooden block frame for them. Yeah, and you essentially make like a mega hole punch. It's like a stamp, and it'll just like punch right through. And then you can do 45 tubs in like, 10 minutes instead of an hour.
Yeah, that's super smart. That sounds very efficient. I've been just doing drills.
Yeah.
Which takes a long time, but I hate breathing in the melted plastic smoke. I'm just like, I'm like, oh God, like what am I doing to myself?
I go outside for it. I sit outside and I bring music and I just zone out and just punch holes for however long it takes.
Yeah. But, I used to I used to be really into the fishing thing. I still like it, but I used to make my own like plastic fishing lures in the garage, like melted plastic and all that stuff. And I definitely screwed myself up with those fumes. I need to be more careful.
Yeah,
there were a few 50, times where I was just like, oh.
Yeah, when you're 50, this little weird side of you is going to start coming out every once in a while.
Yeah.
Lucas develops an alter ego. Hey, the high fisherman.
My alter ego is actually just Owen. No.
Oh my God, that would be ridiculous. Man.
But yeah, I mean, you're gonna have to have a lot of baby tubs ready this year, which is a great problem to have, but it is something
Yeah.
that's it's gonna be a problem to have.
Yeah. I have more than enough, like I'm
Mhm.
sitting on, let's see, she's got 16 eggs. That clutch has 15 or 16. That clutch is another 13. Like I've got more than enough for the eggs that are already on the ground. Um, so uh,
Mhm.
I, man, I mean, I told you, or maybe I didn't. I found, oh yeah, I did. I found a nice slug clutch of Mad Hog eggs the other day.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
So that sucks.
Sorry to hear
The
about that.
the video I'm editing right now for this week, we'll talk about it. But basically, the female that produced my one good baby in 2019 must have dropped her clutch like on the 29th, and I didn't find it because she like buried them in the back corner, and they were all slugs, so they didn't stand out. They weren't white, so they didn't catch my eye. They were like yellow, and then she buried them in the cocoa husk in the back, and
Mm.
they were just, by the time I found them, they were gross and at least 24 hours old. There was one that was white and like semi-shelled, but it was
Mm.
definitely infertile, and yeah, it just
Now, if
didn't
you
go so well.
so did you chuck them?
Yeah,
If
I
you had
chucked
found
all of
them
them.
earlier, would you have tried to feed them off? Because I've
Probably.
been seeing a lot of people do that
Yeah,
lately.
yeah.
Uh,
If I'd have found them while they were fresh,
yeah,
sure.
I
The
saw a
mom.
loafman feed a whole clutch of slugs to a falsie. And
Oh,
that was
nice.
pretty cool.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, my rainbow boa female, anytime she has like the last litter she had was the first time she had any slugs in her litter, and she ate two of them.
Oh,
So that
she
was
ate them.
cool.
That's cool.
Yeah,
She's
that was
like,
cool
"That's
to
my
see.
nutrients. Give it
Yeah,
back."
yeah. That was pretty neat to see. But
Very cool.
yeah, I mean, I could always give slugs to Crebos or monitors or whomever.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so now it's just pretty much the only thing I'm waiting on is to see if the Brettles
Mhm.
do produce eggs. Um, I doubt my other Mad Hog female will produce a clutch. I don't know what her deal is. She eats, she does everything, she breeds, but nothing
Mm.
comes of it. I've had her for 3 years as an adult, maybe four. No, I've had her for 4 or 5 years now. Anyway, she just doesn't produce. I don't know
Mhm.
if that's something I'm doing or if she's just her normal thing is to wait to be older, or if I don't have them big enough. I see plenty of people that get these females massive, and I don't do that. So
Right.
maybe that's my problem. I think the reason why this other gal slugged out is because a few meals I tried giving her chicks and she didn't want them. They're kind of big. I tried giving her small rats that were a little big. So she didn't eat consistently. She refused several meals throughout the
Mm.
fall. So maybe
Maybe
that
she
is
was running a little more lean than
yeah,
before.
yeah.
Mm.
And she's already a smaller female. So
Interesting.
when she produced, I did not expect it because she was small.
Gotcha.
So I don't know. We'll see. They're well adjusted. I've had them all in my care for 4 years together. So,
Right.
now it's just a matter of seeing how things go over time. If I keep putting the effort in, and maybe eventually they'll get a bigger cage and maybe that'll make things different. I don't know.
Right.
You
It
know?
is interesting though how, sometimes you'll do everything the same, but maybe one of those girls
Yeah.
just won't do it. You know, there really doesn't seem to be an explanation sometimes, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, there's always compatibility. There's always, you know, genetic factors at play, health factors at play, stress factors at play. I mean, we're also talking about wild caught animals that were pulled
Right.
off Madagascar that are now living in California. So that's,
Yeah.
something to be said for that.
Certainly.
So,
Mm.
but I don't know. I mean, I think for me personally, I've demonstrated that they're easy to keep them like pythons. You can breed them if you cycle them like pythons. You can house them communally. It seems to keep them lower stress. And yeah, I think I'm not as disappointed as I expected to be finding these slugs. Like I
Mhm.
definitely would have loved, absolutely loved to get a second crack at some more babies just to really like feel comfortable about my process.
Sure.
Um, unfortunately I got slugs, so now I need to adjust my feeding and try again. But as soon as I do, like I really do want to move on from the project once I feel like I can demonstrate that they are easy to establish, produce a few, put them in the hands of some folks that can carry the torch, so to speak, because
Sure.
I've scratched the itch thus far. It's fun, and now I'm really kind of, my eyes are just on the long run with my Morelia projects these days. It's just time is keeping me more and more focused over the years. So I don't know.
Absolutely. No, yeah, that makes sense. And kind of like we were talking about in our chat with Owen, there,
Mhm.
there's definitely value in focusing in on that kind of stuff and cutting the fat.
Sure.
Kind of like he's looking to do now. So
Yeah, we all go through waves of it, and it comes as we change personally, or life changes, or
yeah.
whatever.
I mean,
So
I'm sure you want to snag another Apodora or two as well.
yeah,
So
yeah, that's the
the more
thing.
space, the better for you, sir.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's a few groups of animals or projects where like I really don't have a no switch for.
I know
and
how that goes.
and so as those things get more fuel into them, it's not even necessarily my doing. Usually it's friends that come up behind me and go, "Hey, throw a log in the fire. Hey, throw a log in the fire."
Hmm.
And I'm like, "What the hell just happened? Where did these 4 snakes come from?" Well, now I got to get rid of these son of,
Oh,
and
man. I'm telling you, there's a couple beautiful Apodora babies at the vivarium.
are they babies?
They're little. They're young.
Like little?
Like in a cube little.
No,
Yeah.
stop, Riley. Bad. Bad.
I know. Every time I go there to grab food, I'm like, could I do that?
Do you get a
No,
do you get
no,
a
you can't
former
do that.
employee discount?
Uh, mm, sometimes I don't know. I'm trying
I
to.
shouldn't ask. I shouldn't ask. Bad.
I'm
Bad, bad, bad.
probably going to try to be a no longer former employee and pick up some shifts pretty soon because I'm going to be free for
Oh,
summer. And
nice, nice.
like we were talking about,
Might
I'd
as
love to
well.
help out up at your shop if you need me too. So I am a mercenary. I am for hire.
Hmm, interesting. There's yeah, we might need a weekend help actually
That'd be
in the future.
perfect. Less traffic. Get up to Sacramento on a weekend. I'll do it.
Hmm,
Hmm.
hmm, hmm. All right then.
We'll
We'll
talk.
think about it. Yeah. But yeah, no, I see that's exactly one of those projects where yeah, the right time, the right place. I could really see myself jumping on something like that and then having to force myself to push something else out to make it happen.
Hmm.
My thing is like as much as I'm like mentally committed to do it, timing has to be right for me on certain things because it would be an irresponsible decision of me to go buy, 2 more Apodora, knowing that if I don't move or things don't change, something's gonna give.
Right.
And I'm kind of at a point where I don't want to give with what I've got necessarily. Like I don't want to cut much out right now. Like there's still things I want to do. Like I would be okay trimming back my Xanic Tiger Coastal project once I've produced a few more things that I'd like to produce out of that. Um,
Hmm.
so it'll take time, but ultimately it's all about just keeping things where I've got, trying to get into a house so then I can let things grow and then add
Right.
more. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
the never ending struggle.
Exactly. I know. I just rearranged when I got back because I had to pack up all of my music gear to go on this trip. So when I got back, I rearranged my entire room
Mm-hmm.
instead of setting it all back up the way I had it. Because I kind of had like the snake half and the music half.
Okay.
But now music half got pushed into music corner and I made
Uh-huh.
room for my 6-foot cages.
Nice.
I
Did you get those 6-footers in yet, or are you
haven't got
just
them in
making room
yet,
for them?
but I think it should be getting pretty close to shipping time here soon.
Sweet.
Last time I chatted with the Big Sky people, it sounded
Right.
like they were almost there. So getting ready to receive those, and that's going to be pretty good. I'm excited.
How many 6-foot cages are coming?
I'm starting with 2.
Two.
I know that in the long run, I'll probably need more than that.
Sure.
But you know, baby steps. financially.
Nice. Before you get them set up, put some sort of stand or a dolly or moving
Yeah,
dollies into them.
that's a good call. It would be nice to get them on coasters or something.
Yeah,
Casters,
at the
I should
very
say.
least, you could get those big, tough, heavy duty moving dollies and just screw those into the bottom, or at least
Yeah.
make a platform with those. They don't necessarily have to be attached. You can get a piece of plywood to fit.
Yeah, that's a great
But
call. Yeah,
it'll
have
just,
them
you'll appreciate it
have them
not
roll.
having that. Yeah, well, at just least not having them directly on the ground. Every little bit of elevation helps a bit. So
no, I like that, and there's definitely a possibility that I'll rearrange again. So wheels would be a good idea.
yeah, it helps. It definitely helps.
I'll go for that.
I got three of my racks are on casters, so like those three I can just roll, and then the other 1, 2, 3,
Casters.
4.
What did I say? Coasters? That's for drinks.
Close enough. Speaking of drinks,
Speaking of drinks, are you shotgunning again? Oh,
no.
where's Brandon?
He's here, but they're it's too early for that. I think even Brandon would say
Suit yourself.
Yeah, that's true. I could be somewhere else in the world, and it's perfect time. It is 5:00 somewhere.
That's right.
So you have. Wait, let me go over this. You've got a pair of double het. You said stonewash stripes.
That's right.
Going after it, and then the other one is
got so. Yeah, the lock this morning was double het stonewash stripe, and I have 2 pairs of those going. The other pair I think might have also locked up last night, but their tails were behind the hide, so I can't confirm it.
Yeah.
But it was the most pretzeled with each other that I've seen them during this whole process.
Sure.
So fingers crossed there. And then the hypo het stripe is the one that I think is furthest along with either being gravid or having some really well developed follicles or something like that.
Yeah. I was the reason I asked is because I saw Casey's stonewash stripe that he posted up that's getting some color, and that thing's
nice,
beautiful, man.
They get like the barbed wire thing going on. Like it's not what you would expect.
I think I would have gone more Bredli crazy if I knew I had the ability to get them cold. Like I would have built the Bredli collection up years ago instead of only sitting on 2.2. Because they're freaking badass.
They're so cool.
I don't think anybody, and no one can deny that they're badass. No one can deny that they're beautiful. But when you are limited on space, and you kind of have to be selective and choosy, things kind of have to do something for me, basically. Like they kind of have to justify their spatial existence, so to speak. And it sounds callous and it sounds messed up, and if it does, well, you just haven't grown your collection to that point yet. And I sort of envy you. But it does get to that point where, because you're putting so much money in, depending on what your lifestyle is like if you're rich, it doesn't matter. But if you're not rich, like most,
you have to prioritize. And I'm even with my limited collection size, like I'm still thinking in that same way that you are. Yeah. Like it kind of has to have a purpose. Otherwise it feels like, that cage is being wasted in a way.
Right. That's what the phrase "no pets" sort of means. Like they're not pets; they are part of essentially you could call them livestock. Yeah,
it depends what your goals are, right? And what you're looking to do. But I think that you and I both have, our eyes on some very specific breeding goals, which that does kind of make that mindset all the more important. And I'm with you. Like my stonewash female, I'm thinking of letting her live at my really good friend's house because she is not part of a project for me. But I love that snake too much for her to just be bye-bye to a stranger. I want to keep her in the family, if you will. But it would also be nice to not need a big cage for a big adult female Bredl's python that I don't have plans for.
That's a female stonewash, you said?
It is.
And how come you're not breeding her this year, or you're done breeding her?
Well, no, she's a 2018. So she's a raise up.
Oh,
She's a raise up.
okay.
I just don't see where she fits in to my plans
Since you already have like
since I've
multi
got the
hets
double
and
hets and
yeah.
like I love stonewashed, but I don't necessarily need that animal to make more
Hmm.
stonewash. But she's
Hmm.
also like got the most sentimental value of any of the Brettles, and this is where it gets tricky because she was my first one. So it's like there's no way in hell I'm selling her off to a stranger. Um, but in my mind, like it seems like the best option perhaps to let a good friend that I really trust, one of my biology friends, just take care of her. And if I ever decide, oh, that'd be great to have her back, I know that I could do that.
Right.
It's kind of that
Yeah.
that kind of thing where it's kind of like what did Owen say? Site B? It's Isla
Yeah.
Sorna over
Yeah.
there. But
Yep.
just to your point, you do end up getting to a point, depending on what your goals are, where you have to start making those kinds of calls,
Right.
and prioritizing your space, because we don't have an air hanger. It is limited.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and I think it's a little bit different for folks in Morelia or with obscure species where there's a little more variety or personality difference or just a little more appreciation for other aspects of the animal than
mm,
something more mainstream. And I don't mean to pick on ball pythons, but with ball pythons, it's not very common to like find a phenotype of an animal so unique that it needs to stay around, or a personality type that you gravitate towards, or something like that. There's not, like, you can replicate the genes in ball pythons, make another one, sort of thing. There's not that same particular animal in Morelia necessarily. I mean, yeah, a little bit with some of the genetic stuff, but even within that, there's so much variation. You can have some very one-off animals that you really can't
right.
reproduce. And if you're thinking about it in terms of this business and value of the space mentality, with something like one species that just has morphs of it, you can replace the adults with the next best thing, the
Mhm.
animal that carries the same genes plus, one or two, and then you don't feel bad about letting this one go to somebody who will still appreciate it whether they breed it or not. It's not like
Right.
it's, just being tossed aside. It's going somewhere where it's going to be cared for. But
Yeah.
you're not, you're not moving something on that has the same value because you're replacing it with something else. To me, Morelia doesn't necessarily like transition that seamlessly. Like, I could get beautiful, beautiful jungles from my 9-year-old female that started it all for me, that I got as a yearling and have raised up, and I could get some stunning animals from her that I would love, that would be holdback, trophy quality, whatever, but
Mhm.
they would not replace her
Right.
because she is a completely different animal because of the parents that went into it that created the next generation, which are different based on composition, based on look. Even though it's a jungle and it came from her, yeah, it's sort of like the next best thing in a way, but it's
Sure.
not the same. It's not
No.
her. And you can't just, like, no two jungles are the same.
Yeah.
But with
Exactly.
with something that a lot of people work on, like a piebald, yeah, all pie, a pie's a pie, whatever.
Right. You
If
might get
she's
a
good, she's great.
little face every now and then or something like that, but they're
Yeah,
more or
yeah.
less the
Like,
same.
there's other things that are, interesting about other species, but when it comes to just these animals in Morelia, like, there's so much value on just the normal type, regardless of the genes, that you can't just say, well, I'll just make, the visual and replace the het sort of thing. I mean, some stuff you can, but not. I don't know. Like,
Mhm.
I could make visual tiger exanics and make pairs of them and whatever, and then essentially my tiger hets would kind of be useless, or not useless, but like, for me, it would seem
Mhm.
silly to keep the hets when I have visuals, especially if they're up and growing and aging and all
Right.
that stuff. But
Right.
that's more of a morph project. That's different. So I don't know.
Sure. Yeah,
I don't
and
know if that came out clearly, but
no, I got you. And exactly. I mean, it is a balancing act between uh the breeding goals, the business goals, and
mm,
the sentimental value of how much you care for the animal. And like for me, at least, in the case of that particular stonewashed girl, like if I didn't have my people that I trust, that I would, that I know would take as good a care of her as I would keep her forever. Like I would hold on to that snake for that value alone. Um, it's just I have the convenience of people that I trust, so it makes it easier for me. But yeah, it in terms of that balancing act, like I definitely cared too much about that animal to just sell it off to a stranger.
Sure.
But anyway, it's one of those
Yeah.
things that's going to be different for every person. There's going to be people that listen to this conversation right now that are more pet oriented, that think we sound like terrible people.
Yeah.
And then there's other people that are going to be laughing at me for having sentimental value for a snake. It's totally a spectrum of where you fall. But
yeah, if you happen to be one of the people that's listening and you're just getting into it and trying to figure out which direction to go, or you're literally just at the starting line of your collection, start slow. Start slow. Don't grab a bunch of animals. Just, try and plan. Like, say, this is the year where I'm going to only get like X, Y, or Z. I'm going to add this project. And this is the year where I'm going to focus on raising up these projects. And if an opportunity presents itself, I will do this. But yeah, if you go slow, if you don't fill up all your usable space too quickly, you have the ability to pace yourself and grow into some of these projects, grow into what other people are doing, and kind of pick and choose from the sidelines. The hard part is really staying on the brakes and curbing the enthusiasm, because when you see what other people are producing is new or exciting, it's hard not to feel the contagious effect of that excitement when somebody's like, dude, check these out, or this clutch is ready. And it's like, ooh, as much as I would love that, like, you got to think of what your real priorities or your long-term goals are beforehand and curb the impulse. So
exactly.
Easier said than done.
And there's also the whole thing where you start to look around you and you see 3 baby womas, a couple baby blackheads, and you say, oh, those are going to need cages eventually, aren't they? So then you have to kind of forecast your project, 4 years from now or something like that, and realize what you're actually going to need. And in my case, prioritizing that Asphodite stuff, decisions have to be made.
Yeah. I just upgraded to grow up female carpets into subadult enclosures. And the 2 enclosures that came out of, now I'm like, okay, who's going to need those next? Do I need more of those?
Right.
Is that going to force me to make some other decisions? What do I need to plan for the animals that just got upgraded? What do I need, and so you kind of, you do these little stutter steps of like adjust, and then it opens up this, and then you sort of recalibrate. Like, okay, this is what I have available. What do I need? And that's when you'll see people, you get to that point where you're like, okay, this year I'm not buying animals. I'm buying grow up racks. And that's when you're at a certain point where you're like, okay, I've got a collection. I've got some growth that I need to plan for and manage. Because if you don't, one day you'll wake up and you'll be like, why is this 6-foot animal in a juvenile tub or whatever
exactly.
it is?
And then you're kind of an asshole.
Yeah. And then it happens, but like, that's when you gotta pull back, and you have to do it responsibly, and you have to do it in a way that admits that it's your fault. If you try and put it on somebody else, nobody's going to want to help you.
For sure.
That's a whole other subject, but
yeah, absolutely. Planning is important.
I see it all too often, guys that get excited about somebody else's breeding prospects, and they see it be like, that person's excited because they've got the potential for these babies to hatch, and they want a piece of that excitement, so they go get some snakes because so and so is excited, but they don't realize that they just grabbed a conglomeration of animals that don't make any sense. And then they're like, wait a minute, what am I doing? And then they try and like dump them off, and you're wasting all this time, not only buying animals that don't make sense, but then trying to correct your mistakes. And all this time, you're just sort of missing out on what you could be focused on.
Right.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah. It's easy to get caught up in kind of the hype of other projects and kind of forget
Mm-hmm.
what you were doing in the first
Mm-hmm.
place. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, not to say that you can't switch gears, but
Yeah.
at
That
least for
being
me
said, I'm
personally, I
buying
would.
more snakes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, we can't be hypocrites here. We definitely will, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
for me personally, I'd love to at least stay on track for, a couple generations before I completely lose my path.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Yeah.
I think, I still have, if you get in the mindset of like knowing what you're aiming for in the future, then
Yeah.
your little steps along the way, you'll find ways to justify them. Or you just ignore that little voice in your head that's like,
Yeah.
hey, wait a minute.
Why do I have a green tree python? Because they're freaking beautiful. It's in the living room. It's a pet. It's fine.
Yeah. Why do you have savu pythons, dumerals, boas, mandarin rat snakes, and corn snakes? Just shush. Get out of here, negative
Yeah.
Nancy.
Who's this
Get out
voice
of here.
inside my head?
Yeah, this voice in my head is
Remove it with a melon scooper.
Yeah. Yeah, because this year it seems to be very fortuitous for those attempting to breed Nova Guineas. So let's see. Billy Hunt has 2 clutches. Travis has a clutch. Eric Kohler's got at least a clutch. So
Nice.
I think I might get Novas this year finally.
That's pretty sweet. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the only reason why I'm okay, like even thinking about it, after just standing on my soapbox and saying, "Focus on what you have and don't buy more snakes." Da da da. But I'm gonna go buy some more snakes. The reason why I'm okay being my own hypocrite is because, well, I haven't committed to anything for one. I haven't had any conversations with anybody, so I haven't like verbally committed myself to anything. And 2. If all goes well, I'll have some fun snake money this season. So it won't,
Excellent.
it'll come out of snake money for snake money.
Exactly.
If you do that, that's another little life hack. Spend snake money on snake stuff, and then you're never tapping into your life budget.
That's good. I hope to get to that point someday.
Me too. I'm terrible at it.
I know. I keep joking with my roommate. I'm like, I think that snake's pregnant. They're finally going to pay their rent. It's like, yeah, right. That's never going to happen.
Oh, it will. You won't realize when it does. It'll be like years down the line. You'll have stopped counting. You just won't. It won't even be important to you. And then one day you'll be like, oh yeah, I think, if I think about how many babies it produced, yeah, it's probably broken even. Yeah, okay, it's probably paid for itself now,
It was kind of a devastating realization to remind myself how much it costs to feed medium and large rats. Because I didn't have to do it from like November till now, and then I went and bought some. I was like, Jesus Christ, like $160.
Yeah, I've got to refill my smalls, mediums, and larges soon here. Fortunately, I've been picking up rodents locally, so I save on shipping now. But
yeah,
that doesn't make it any less painful to send off that much money right away and be like, oh God, and then knowing you're going to do it again in a month.
Yeah, it's.
But that's the beauty of seasonal cycle feeding, right?
100%.
You do it to the snake's health and breeding advantage, but it also can, a couple times a year go easy on your wallet, i.e. winter and dead of summer.
Exactly.
I feed like nothing over the winter and kind of light and sparing over summer.
Definitely. Yeah. And it makes those creative food options all the more appealing when you can feed off like a drumstick or I've got the hookups at the fish market. You bet those falsies are going to get a lot of trout when they're older.
Oh yeah. No, hey, you know what? That's an interesting thing. You could even seasonally offer different food items based on availability to sort of simulate that in the wild. You could do like, in the spring and summer, just do a ton of fish, and then in the fall do a bunch of rodent and bird.
Oh, for like sure. Those whole cleaned like 8-10 ounce rainbow trout, those are cheap as hell. Even without an employee discount, like trout is an affordable option for fish that'll eat it.
Yeah, trout's good too. That's good stuff. All the fish oils in there is really good. I think my Crebos are due for some fish. I haven't given them fish in a while. Now that you mention it.
Very nice.
Yeah, I got to do that. They've been getting rodents and a lot of chicks and quail lately.
I also I've been meaning to ask one of my biology buddies manages a really large conservation easement with a lot of cattle ponds, and a few of them are just absolutely overrun with bullfrogs, which is what we don't want, because the bullfrog displaced the California red-legged frog, which is what the conservation easement is trying to protect. So
Yes.
I really want to ask if I can get out there with a couple big nets and just go crazy on bullfrog and freeze frog legs.
You probably don't even need a fishing license to do that. I would
For
imagine.
bullfrog?
I mean, for bullfrog, it's probably fair game. It's probably one of those things where if you catch it, you're in trouble if you let it go, sort of thing.
Oh yeah, no, they are a destructive, invasive species over here.
Yeah, I would imagine that the only thing you would have to be mindful of is the land you're on if you need to be permitted for catching off land. But bullfrogs being invasives, if I'm not mistaken, they are not regulated. I don't believe there's any.
Yeah, I think it's different on the East Coast where they belong, but out here, they're out here they're a problem.
Out here, dude, years ago when I was still at the Santa Barbara Zoo, I would every so often get to go do day trips in the San Ynez Mountains doing red-legged frog surveys with the Forestry Service.
Nice.
And we'd be working under their permits. They would be leading this stream walks. We basically drive a couple hours out in the middle of nowhere and spend 4 or 5 hours out in the sun walking up streams and surveying whatever we find, regardless of species: tadpoles, frogs, fish, turtles, you name it, and just documenting it. And this one Forestry Service official, officer, employee, whatever, she was a machine. She's a badass wilderness woman. She's out there like I'm like damn near breaking my ankles trying to keep up with her in the streams, and she's just trugging right along. And anytime she would find a bullfrog that wasn't supposed to be there, because we're looking for red-leggeds, she would grab it and throw it in a bag and keep it. And what she would do is at the end of the day, she'd thump them on some rocks and go home and cook them and eat them.
I mean, frog legs are good.
Well, yeah, we already know that a lot of colubrids and certain animals will eat just about anything near waterways that they can grab. So,
hell yeah.
If you can get some bullfrogs, chop the legs off, pull out the innards, get the digestive tract out of the way so you don't have to worry about as much parasites.
Exactly.
Good to go.
Yep. And man, some of those bullfrogs out there are like Jabba the Hutt size. Those legs are like a small rat.
Face.
Oh yeah, they're huge.
Yeah, they're huge. You go at the right time of year, you can fill your freezer with them.
Exactly. So I need to ask, but that's in the back of my mind for a nice break on the feeding bill for the fall seas.
Yeah.
Because those things throw back food and they're not even big yet. Once they're 8 feet, I'm terrified.
Yeah. Well, find yourself a good Asian market and frequent it,
Oh yeah. I'm pretty close to Oakland, Chinatown, so no problem there.
Yeah. There's this whole strip of like a strip mall area that's got a lot of these Korean shops and Asian market stuff. And so I could go get, whatever I need pretty much. It's kind of convenient. Maybe that's worth doing. Just making like an obscure food trip day and stocking up on all that random stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's when you have the species that you can get creative with like that, such a great thing to do. Yeah. As long as you're being, like you said, mindful of parasite loads and any potential risks like that,
What are your thoughts on taking that level of food variety enrichment and because I know like you and I both like to feed pros and thought out of convenience, health, safety, scheduling, all of the above. What are your thoughts on letting the animal hunt something?
Are we talking about like a frog?
Sure.
I guess with the wild bullfrog, my concern would be what's in the guts.
Right.
At least when you're offering the leg, it's just pretty clean muscle tissue. Those parasites tend to hang out in the guts. And then once that animal dies, some of them will crawl out into the muscle tissue trying to like escape. This is what I've seen in fish at the fish market. That's why whenever you see salmon, that thing was gutted the second it was caught on the boat so that none of the nasties infect the meat. But anyway, I would be a little bit more hesitant to do that for that reason.
Sure.
I don't have a problem with providing a live prey item, letting that animal hunt. Like, that's not my issue. I would just be concerned that it's a wild caught prey item that could have some natural parasite load.
What if it was a captive bred? Then
That I would have no
bred
problem with.
Yeah. That'd be kind of interesting to watch a falsy chase down a frog.
I would have no problem for that. Yeah, exactly. Like, I've definitely raised frogs, you know, and when you're doing that in a captive setting where you know that they don't have anything icky, go for it. Why not?
Yeah,
that'd be fun.
Yeah, I feel like it would be very stimulating for the snake to get to, one, track it down, hunt it, sniff it out, and then figure out how best to eat it instead of somebody holding it perfectly on the tongs. It gets to pick the nice angle it goes for, you know?
Mm-hmm. Hey, yeah, I mean, I would imagine that would be some pretty good enrichment and probably some exercise from a prolonged chase, because things that hop are hard to catch.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
But
the reason I ask is because I'm, coming up on the first season of producing feeder snakes. So I'm wondering if I just offer them live or freeze them and then do it, or what. I mean, obviously, if they're born and bred here, they're not exposed to any external parasites or anything, so that's not the concern. But is there any benefit, or I don't know. Obviously, I'm not going to be filming it and sharing it for all the sensitive souls on YouTube to crucify me over. But
it's certainly a personal choice, and just something for you to decide. And
like, I'm not going to make a whole video feeding snakes to snakes. You know,
no, that would definitely get some backlash.
Well, I guarantee it would get reported. It would get demonetized. I'd have YouTube put all limited ads on it, and
which, in my personal opinion, that's a shame, because when we're talking about a species of snake that eats snakes, you're just letting them do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, I don't rely on YouTube for income, but like, there are a lot of folks that have challenges with that, having their source of income demonetized because somebody was, too thin-skinned for the moment.
Yep. A very skillful mute. That was nice.
Yeah, sorry.
No, you're good.
The wind is blowing, and my allergies are knowing. So,
yeah, I mean, as somebody that's very, I guess, natural history focused, coming at it from a biology perspective, I think that's great. Feed snake eating snakes. I don't have a problem with that. Yeah. But I know that a lot of people would be like, "You monster! Oh my God!"
It would ruffle some feathers. That is for sure. It would. But, I mean, there are people that would appreciate it, but like, that's the thing. I'm sure there are people that would appreciate knowing that some people are paying that level of attention to their animal's diet, but probably also don't want to see it, even if they do understand, appreciate, and respect it. So there's that angle. So there's no need for me to show it. But we always talk about improving the lives of these animals that we keep in boxes in our homes. So, in general, theoretically, the more natural they live, the better. So,
yeah. And if memory serves me correctly, there was that paper on rat snake enrichment that we talked about probably a couple months ago at this point, where it was like the enriched environment versus the sterile environment, and then cognitive tests. They also did the same tests, frozen thawed versus live prey. And I'm almost sure that their results were significant enough to say that the ones that were fed live prey and had the hunting experience were a little bit better adapted in the trials. Maybe a little bit more cognitively tuned into the environment.
I mean, we feed live at the shop. Excuse me, at the shop, and these animals are freaking keyed. When there's food present, these animals are finely tuned biological machines. You know what I mean? Like, you can tell their instincts and their gears are turning. That's not to say that feeding frozen thawed and getting the scent in the air doesn't elicit the same response in other animals.
Definitely not me saying that live is inherently better. I feed frozen, but just an interesting note.
I feed frozen too. I prefer it.
I prefer it too. I don't like the risk of
There was
rats scratching and biting
there
my animals.
there was study to see if it was nutritionally any deficient, and there was no conclusive evidence to suggest that there was any nutritional deficiency doing frozen thawed. In fact, it might even add an extra layer of hydration and make the digestion process, at least initially, a little bit easier on the animal's stomach. But otherwise, nutrition was the same. They've even done studies to see if it like affects like crocodiles whole prey versus like the artificial like croc biscuit chow, and it's exactly the same. Like the animals come out just as good, just as healthy, no real vital differences. So I don't think it makes that much of a difference. But I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've had people come into the shop and they're like, oh, I threw a rat in with my snake and came back the next morning and I had a skeleton and a really fat rat covered in blood. And I was like,
yeah, rats are not harmless.
They're brutal.
They will defend their lives with big claws and big teeth.
Yeah, sometimes a ball python is a little too timid and doesn't want to eat it, and you got to watch.
Yeah,
so
no, I've definitely seen some wounds as well, and it is my personal decision that it's not worth that risk in my collection. But everybody gets to make that decision for themselves.
Have you ever had any animals that were finicky and stuck on live? Like only
luckily not here. I've seen it at the vivarium, but not here. No,
I've certainly had animals that would only take live, and Jesus, it is frustrating. Even when you have access to live and it's small or something, like you have to go out of your way, you have to plan for it, you have to mentally like make an extra trip and go get it, and it's just this whole thing. And if they don't eat it, then you're like, now what do I do with this thing? And
exactly.
Even with me, with dozens of other animals I could feed it to, I'm in the mental state where I'd like to just set it and forget it. I don't like having to like mentally double check that a rat isn't chewing on my animal. Ooh, Jeff's got popcorns hatching. He's leaving. Good stuff.
Congratulations.
Man. Congrats. Well
Send
done.
pics.
Yeah.
Speaking of which,
you
want to talk about yours?
Yeah, man. They're freaking awesome. They're all out. They're 4 days old? 3 days old? 4 days old?
Nice.
So
beautiful little red babies.
Dude, they're the coolest. They're like bloody cherry tomato, like dark red, and man, they're so big too. Like I would say average carpet hatchlings are in the like 20 to 22 gram range, and I have 2 babies that are 30 grams, one that's 29 grams, a few that are like 25 and 27. So they're like all really big babies. I can't wait for them to shed and start feeding. One's already striking at the tub when I move my hands near it. So I'm like, ooh, you're probably going to eat first. Awesome. So I'm really excited for those guys. And
you had a pretty female heavy sex ratio, right? Which is great
finally,
because this is the offspring from the girl that unfortunately had complications.
Yeah. And maybe the babies being so big had something to do with it. Big babies, big eggs. There were 10 eggs and 2 of them didn't make it. And so if we're looking at the egg like this, you know how normally the embryo kind of starts in the middle and takes the whole thing and fills it out, where there were 2 eggs where there was a fully formed but miniature baby off to the side in both eggs. And then on the other side, there was what looked like a dead sort of very rudimentary, like early form potential embryo. So it was like maybe those eggs would have had twins. Maybe that's also adding to the size.
Happened?
Causing issues. So I don't know, but it was down to the last 2 coming out of the eggs. I was like, man, it's 3.3. These last 2 better be females, and they were. So I was like, thank God.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, you never want anything to go wrong, but I guess maybe the fact that you did get some offspring that can kind of, fill her role in your project, if you will, the one you lost, that maybe that softens the blow a little bit. She lives on in a way, kind of like with Eric's poison ivy stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta reach out to a few people that have males from the first clutch, see if they're interested in uh, a female to go
Hmm.
with their male. If they have other plans, that is cool too. And
Hmm.
then based on how many are unspoken for, we'll determine how many because I think I'm going to keep a female.
Yeah, for sure. For
I
sure.
don't think, well, I might, I probably won't keep another. I'm super male heavy. Um, so we'll figure it out when we get there. But basically, I'm not in any rush. That female having to be euthanized changed the direction of that clutch big time. Because if
Hmm.
she'd have lived, I'd be like, well, maybe I'll keep a female and just move on from the rest, and maybe I won't. And now I'm like, well, shoot, now I really need to like think this through. Um,
Yeah.
the only reason, not because I couldn't just the it's not that the babies are too sentimental to rehome. It's that I want to just make sure they go somewhere where they will continue on like pure good solid popwin breeding lines within the hobby. I wouldn't mind if they went to somewhere and then somebody had to change games and they went somewhere else. That's fine. I prefer they don't change hands, and I prefer they don't end up just as a pet somewhere.
Hmm.
Not that it would be bad, but you know
Right.
I see it as like a
Absolutely.
limited gene pool that needs to be expanded upon a little bit still, even though there are other
Right.
people with F1s, twos, threes, pure wild caught, all that. It's not like the U.S. population of pure popwin carpets is in any sort of fickle or
Hmm.
delicate stage, but
And
I
but
don't.
this too was also very uh much part of the melanistic project,
Yeah,
right?
it kind
Or
of worked out that way
mhm.
without even really starting out that way. She didn't start out super melanistic. She was just
Oh,
kind of.
interesting. Okay.
Yeah, she started out like any other farm hatched or wild caught IJ, and what happened was her first winter when she produced, she got really dark,
Hmm.
and then never came back out of it. She stayed dark. She would have her light and dark fluctuations naturally; they do that, but like she
Hmm.
really lost all of her color and went dark, dark.
That's very interesting. So it was almost a surprise.
Yeah, I mean,
Ah.
there was no going into it thinking, hey, maybe this will be a melanistic line. That like never crossed my mind. In fact, the first offspring of babies some were dark and some were light, and I was aiming for the lighter color. And the two females that came out that I still have were so dark. I was actually disappointed in them at first. And now I'm looking at them and there's color coming in them now, and I'm like shit, go back to being dark. Go back. Like
Yeah.
kind of like that.
Figure
So
out what you do.
and then over the years I've grabbed a few more farm hatched ones, some captive bred ones, and so now I've got a few more looks, and so now I'm like, oh man, I really like this type of dark look, which is the poison ivy dark look, where it's the inky black with that like burnt embery color just barely coming up.
Yeah.
So really need to get my hands on some of Eric's poison ivy stuff to then mix into these really dark animals that I have, and just run it up the gut. Hopefully, maybe by the time I talk Eric out of some poison ivy stuff, he'll have had another breeding or two, or have more evidence under his belt from what the babies are doing, and kind of have a better idea of what's going on. And because if that turns out to actually be a genetically heritable trait, whether it's recessive or not, that also changes what you need to do with it and the
Hmm.
value of
Yeah,
it and the end
certainly.
game. And I just need more space so I can stay in my room of snakes forever and never
Yeah.
have to sacrifice projects ever.
What do you mean, room of snakes? House of snakes.
Land of snakes.
Warehouse. Island of snakes.
Kingdom of snakes.
Oh man, we have a problem. What happened to us?
Yeah, we're in trouble. We need to remember
Uh,
to buy nice things for all of our family and significant others over the
yes,
years.
that is right.
But so you've got your Brettles going right now.
Got the bros
It is
going.
spring. I've got my pair going, or I think.
Yeah.
Um, this
I would
is
be
usually when I'm like, I'm not wrapping up, but like things are hatching. My clutches are on the ground. I'm feeding. I'm kind of just like, all right, I kind of know what's going to happen with the exception of what hatches, like I have no idea what's going to happen when the citrus tiger stuff hatches. I'm going to lose my shit. Maternal incubation, albinos, going to just lose my mind, right? But until that happens, I'm already looking at next season. I'm looking at the animals that didn't breed this year. I'm looking at the animals that did, and I'm like, okay, you get next season off. You didn't go this year, so we're going to try again. So I'm sort of looking ahead each year as I'm like still in the middle of what's being laid.
Yeah.
What are you looking forward to for this coming season, having this year's current experiences under your belt?
Yeah, definitely. Well, let's say that one hypohet stripe girl is in fact gravid, like I think she probably is. If I just assume that she's the only one that goes, she will be doing MI as long as she cooperates and is a mother. Because I need that MI data more than I need AI data. It'll be easier to do artificial and convince others to do data collection on artificial. So if that's what happens, she'll probably get next year off because maternal is going to take a little bit more out of her. And assuming that the other hypohet stripe girl doesn't go this year, they're both proven. That would be one that I definitely try again next year. I would definitely try the double het pairs again next year. If the double het pair that locked up this morning does go and I get 2 clutches on the year, I would probably take whichever one looks like they'll be the worst mother and artificially incubate those eggs so that I have one of each to justify the money I spent on that incubator.
I was going to say, interesting. What? You wouldn't just let them both do it, but now I get
it. It would be fun for me to experience both, right?
Yeah.
Get a little bit of experience under my belt with both strategies. And in that case, I'd probably still try the one that I take for artificial next year as well, assuming that I can get that good body condition back. And then also next year, I anticipate being able to try WOMAs.
Yeah, there we go. That's what I was hoping to hear.
Yeah, because I've got that adult female that I bought from Casey at Zion Hill Exotics coming. And then also our good boss friend oligarch Owen is planning to let his pair of womas live here, and they're proven breeders. So yeah, I might be able to pair his boy with 2 girls next season, and
that would be sweet.
They'll be moving and they might be rattled from that, but I'll give it a shot. Why not?
I doubt it, man. Womas.
Yeah, so I'll definitely be trying that. Yeah, that should be it. I don't think I will have anything else of age. Although, you know what? My full-blood hypo het stonewash are 2018s. So next season would be 4 years old for them. But I really need to step up the feeding. They're tiny.
Yeah, you're going to have to push that one. You're going to have to push that. That'd be like the earliest they could potentially go.
Yeah, those I'll probably wait till they're 5 years old just because I've been feeding them so slow. Like they probably are the same size as some people's 2019s, which I don't think is a bad thing. I think it's a healthy way to bring them up.
You will also have potentially another shot at blackheads if we do another breed run with a shot. Grant, he's hoping that male that he got will be up to size, and he's growing, but he'll only be 2. And I don't think the maturity will be there. Yeah. And I'd be really concerned about him being blackhead food, putting him in when he's that small.
I'm with you. I tend to hear 3 or 4 years at the earliest for them.
Well, he's really hooked on mice. He won't take rats. He's only eating mice. So, we can only he's only going to grow. So, I mean, he's growing. Let's be real. Like, he's putting on size really, really fast. He is a blackhead. But I don't anticipate he'll be ready.
Yeah. Well, I'm in. You guys have access to this guy whenever you want him.
Oh, I'm sure as soon as Grant realizes that he won't be up to size, he'll he'll probably think the same way.
And
So
we know that he likes both of your girls a lot. That was not the
yeah,
problem. So
not an issue.
he
So hopefully,
was a horn dog.
yeah. And because that one female that didn't go took the year off, in theory, she should go this coming year. And then the other
Yeah.
girl will get a year off unless she just rebounds and is a freak
Right.
of nature.
She is a big girl. I could
She's huge.
I could see her being ready again.
She's already eating rats and like putting weight back on. So who knows?
Yeah.
So yeah,
That would be
got
great.
that to look forward to.
I'm in. Sign me
Man,
up.
I can't wait to see those Woma and blackhead eggs hatching out in the next couple weeks, man.
Yeah, so the blackhead eggs were first, right? They're
Uh,
probably what, like in the day 30s at this point?
They're in the high 30s. Grant and I checked them last week, and they were at day 33. So yeah, they're probably 2.5 weeks out from hatching.
We got two good ones and a question mark.
Yeah, we kept obviously that question mark in there because
Yeah.
like up top it looks okay with a slight little boob egg, and then you pick it up and the bottom half looks a little suspect. But Grant took some like medical gauze and like put it underneath, so there's an extra dry layer underneath it. And we're giving it the best chance we can to try and go the distance if it's got a viable embryo in it. But yeah, we'll see. And then there's 19 Woma eggs between the two clutches, so those will be coming. The first one is the first dozen is from that reduced pattern female, so those ones will hatch first. Several weeks. Yeah, I know. I keep forgetting. I've already said I was gonna bring Womas in this year too.
Yeah, from that clutch. Well, I can just I can hold them for you if you need.
Never see them again.
No, yeah, I mean, I'm really, really crossing my fingers and praying that the two really healthy looking blackhead eggs go the distance. That would just be wonderful, for both.
If it's only two eggs, I hope it's two females.
That'd be cool.
If it's two eggs,
at this point, honestly, like if there is a male in the bunch, I'd probably be trying to grab that one.
Well, whatever works out, we'll see when we get there.
Yeah, we'll see.
Hopefully there's three good babies.
There is only one. Do you think you guys would keep it or try to sell it?
What, one baby?
Because odd number goes to the shop. So if there's one baby and you guys have that one baby, do you know what Grant's thoughts are on the project?
I'm sure he'd keep it. He wouldn't want to sell it. I don't think he would sell anything. I think the only way you could get Grant to sell baby blackheads of his own production is if he produces enough where he can keep a pair for himself before selling the rest.
Yeah, I mean, that is the correct answer. I'm in the same boat.
Yeah. I mean,
what I was going to say though is like, if he was like, we don't really need this, like I'll buy it.
Oh, well, if it ends up being just one sole survivor and he doesn't have any intention of keeping it, you get first dibs regardless. But yeah, I think now that he's got the building and plenty of space to expand in the future, I think he's not trying to limit himself,
For sure.
So
absolutely. Yeah.
Who knows what will happen? He's obviously got plenty of other projects going on that'll help fund the shop and whatnot. And, in the future, he's going to want we're going to need a male Bolins for the shop. And,
oh yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, he just got 5 Varanus spinulosus for the shop for me to play with. So
yeah, those are awesome.
Dude, those things are gnarly. They have the most ungodly sharp claws. Like, it's not even fair. It's not fair. Even a little guy is just walking on your arms, you're bleeding. Just shredded. They're beautiful, though.
Fun.
Yeah, that's the one thing. Like, I don't mind not having monitors here at the house because every time I'm playing with monitors, I'm like, this is great. And then I put them down, I'm like, I am bloody.
Yeah. That takes a little bit of the fun out of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, for me, it's just like I can't handle monitors too many days back to back because it hurts. Like
Oh yeah.
While I got scabs healing, they're ripping them right open. It's like, I got to give myself a break, so there's only so much I can do.
Yeah, that's not fun.
And everybody's like, well, why don't you wear gloves? It's like, nah, you don't know until you try holding a squirmy monitor with welding gloves just how little it works. It does not work.
No, you can't get the right grip
around your own damn hand.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
You just you're either a lizard person or you're not. That's kind of how it goes. And the ones that you can tell who are the lizard people are the ones whose forearms look like mine. They're all just shredded and cut up and messed up all the time. But I'm like,
right.
I'm like a lizard person emeritus. I get to do it when I'm at work, so to speak. So
very good.
Yeah. I don't know how people do it.
So just back really quick to the Aspidites eggs. How are the Woma eggs looking?
Perfect.
Have you lost any of those? Wow, that's awesome.
Yep. They're all going the distance, looking solid.
So
we've been checking on all the eggs every so often because we've got so many black dragon eggs that we're like, we got the next clutch and it was so big. We went through all the egg boxes and condensed a few down, and we were just like, hey, let's check a few of these while we're at it. And the Woma eggs are looking great.
That's phenomenal. I can't wait to see how many of those look like mom for the reduced pattern clutch.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see the spread of the babies, given that dad is a more traditional Woma.
Banded. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a guy, I think the name was Ron Hatcher, posted some pictures on the Woma group on Facebook. He got 2 or 3 really reduced pattern looking ones out of the clutch, and
nice.
They're gorgeous babies.
Were either of the parents somewhat reduced at all? Did he show photos at all?
I only saw the babies. He may have, but
was it similar? Was it similar look to the female of ours?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, that's nice knowing there's others out there.
Yeah, it got me wondering, what the heritability is going to look like. We'll get an idea from your clutch, what percent resembles mom, and I don't know. It's just interesting. It's an interesting look for sure.
Yeah, it could just be a natural phenotypic variation.
Yeah,
in which case maybe only a couple will show up, something like that.
Yeah, I don't think it's anything like a morph or anything like that. I think it's natural variation, like you're saying. Yeah.
I'm just curious to see if any of them have the same level of extreme reduction as she does.
Yeah, exactly. Me too. Yeah,
so
it's gonna be sweet.
For Brett's sake, I hope there's plenty.
Yes, because I can drive there. He can't.
Yeah, I work there.
Yeah.
I have the keys.
There you go. Yeah. So first dibs.
Yeah. First
second
crack.
Dibs.
Right here. Well, actually, I think Grant's first crack. He might
Shit.
One or two.
Yeah. I guess he's loud.
I bet you if there's a kick-ass male in there, he'll keep a male to replace his breeder male down the line. But then again, if there's a lot of good stuff, he'll probably keep a pair. Who knows?
I would.
Yeah, I would too. How could
you not?
Eggs. How could you not? Yeah. I mean, that's 19 Woma eggs.
That's fantastic. Oh, it's exciting. I mean, they're starting to pop out there too. Aaron and Brandon at Pet Shop Santa Cruz just hatched out another clutch. That's where my girl is from, and they've got some nice looking Womas. Yeah, it's just such an exciting time of the year now.
It is. Baby season is contagious, man. This is the time of year where. That's why I was asking about your thoughts for next season, because this is the time of year when you see so much hatching out and so many other people sharing off their projects and the hard work they've put into it and some of the results and the fruits of the labors that they're finally starting to get right now.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you're starting to see those fruits dangled in front of you. Where you're like, you could be working with this, or you could be working with this. And that's where the temptation really comes in.
And then there's those of us that do Brettles pythons, and we're like, maybe in a couple months.
Yeah. Fall when everybody's breeding their stuff for the following season or whatever.
I know, I have to keep reminding myself that I'm not supposed to have eggs yet.
Right. I think that's why I'm kind of so thrown off by the Brettles is I've already got animals hatching, and these things are they're just courting. I'm like, what the hell are y'all doing? Get with it. But it's, they're probably looking at me like, leave us alone.
Yeah, exactly. This is our time. It's our time down here.
Yeah. So I don't know. They're at the bottom. They're staying over there. They're fine. I've got plenty of other stuff to keep me busy. Like I said, I've got to solder all these tubs. I've got babies hatching already that I'm gonna have to get established soon.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
never.
no, if I do get a second clutch, I might need to figure out a second baby rack pretty quick.
Well, let me know. Like I said, I've got more than enough space over here.
Okay,
So,
right on.
I could even potentially like loan you an entire rack. It like I could potentially rearrange things depending on how it goes. We'll see.
Right on.
It'll all hinge on timing and Crebos and whatever else.
Definitely. I appreciate the thought, though. We'll definitely chat.
Yeah. And if not, you can always ghetto rig something,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Just a long strip of heat tape on top of one of your 6-foot cages and just little baby tubs.
Oh, yeah. No, I've done that. On top
yeah.
on top of these wooden ones, I used to have, before I got the rack, all my raise ups were just plastic bins on a strip.
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah, it works. You make it work. That's the beauty of working with snakes is they are flexible enough where you can sort of Tetris them around in different ways. Not so much with like frogs or lizards that need a lot more specific, especially Morelia. As far as snakes go, there are some snakes that probably wouldn't be too keen on it, but Morelia, they just seem to adapt to whatever you set them up at.
Yeah, especially Brettles.
Yeah, they're freaking bulletproof, man. We get new snakes in at the shop, or we have tons of different species in, and we'll set them up and try and get them on display and housed appropriately so people can see them. And, certain species you can tell adjust to life on display better than others, like ball pythons.
Right.
We've stopped putting them in the displays. They just don't. They don't eat. They don't like it. They're high stress. Yeah. So we'll post photos, but keep them in the back. The corn snakes and colubrids, you get them adjusted to it. They're good. The Brettles we have here, but some snakes, they just really get thrown off by something and they've got to ease into it, and you got to take all the stressors away to ease them into it. But carpets, man, you could literally like take them out of a shipping container, put them in a display in a reptile shop, feed them that moment, and they'll be fine. They're just like, oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I really am excited to see that there's a lot more attention over the last few years on Morelia, and I hope it keeps going that way. There's a lot of folks that are in this chat that if we can consider the boundaries, subdivisions within the reptile hobby, they transcend some of these niches and being in more of the mainstream stuff. Like I think Chris Sexton is a great example. He does a lot of stuff with ball pythons, and so he's got a different audience than we do. And so the people that follow his projects in that will also be exposed to seeing his inlands, his jungles, his, all these other species. And so this crossover is starting this expansion, this growth. And it's really cool because, 5 years ago, I remember having conversations with people about like, well, we really should be more tolerant of new people and their questions. We really need to grow Morelia, otherwise it's going to die at some point and bottleneck. We need more keepers to come in because that means, it's going to keep going. It's going to keep around. We need people to carry the torch, yada yada. And some people were really resistant and hesitant to it. Myself being one of them. I was like, yeah, it's a great idea, but these snakes are different, and you have to think about them differently. And here we are 5 years later, and a lot of people are getting into them and appreciating them and thinking differently about them and sort of applying different trains of thought to the different species in their collection and proving me wrong. And it's great.
Absolutely.
And you know what? I had this thought the other day, and it was really cool because it was like a manifestation of all these changes people are trying to ask about and push for in the hobby. And it's happening right in front of us. And if you think about like, we're one level, like we started keeping here, and on a timeline level, there's people that have come after us. Right. And they're now taking these new questions as sort of the new standard or approach. And they're like starting off giving their animals enrichment in space and UVB and this and that, and starting off with that as the norm. And so they might not ever go the way of the mass production, like cram everything in racks, optimize space. and that's not a bad thing. And then
Exactly.
they represent that shift in the hobby, and it's really cool. And it doesn't mean that
Right.
I'm wrong by not keeping up with that standard. I don't financially have the means or the space to do it
Right.
for everything, so it is what
Right.
it is. But it's nice
No,
seeing that next wave is coming in with that mindset and approach where they
100%.
can. And
Like I still completely think of myself as a beginner. I haven't got a decade under my belt yet, so I'm a beginner in my mind.
sure, sure.
But it's so cool. One of the most flattering things, one of the things that makes me feel best about all this is when I get messages from people saying, like, your Brussels Python video made me get my first snake, and I have a Brussels Python, and they send me pictures of these gorgeous enclosures, and like that to me, like, that's tops. Like, that makes me feel like I did something worth doing with all this. And like you're saying, that new wave of people, just at least a good percentage of them have that same passion for behaviors and natural history and ecology and stuff like that I do. And it's really cool to see. I'm really excited that people are founding collections with that mindset. Whereas, it's also a beautiful thing to see people pivot to that, kind of seeing more evidence come out, just letting our mindset evolve and grow, that's great too. But it's going to be really cool to see what a lot of these collections look like for people that started with that.
Yeah.
I think it's great. I think it's awesome. I think it's only a good thing.
Yeah, I agree. I think the natural wave of like the ebb and flow of trends within the hobby is allowing for some give and take and some open mind. Like, people are coming in right as ideas are shifting, and so you're getting this attachment to these new ideas and stuff that has validation is actually like sticking to the corkboard of the reptile hobby, so to speak. It's sort of claiming its foothold. And I like to see more people being honest and open about the fact that the dart frog niche or the monitor niche or just amphibians or fish is so far advanced, but reptile people haven't, or snake people, excuse me, haven't really pushed that part of keeping there. And now we're finally opening up to those questions and figuring it out and asking them and acknowledging our shortcomings and where we have sort of just gotten comfortable and where we could improve. So
yeah, exactly. And we've talked about welfare a lot, even just on this show, and I just think that whenever you're making a decision to advance welfare, you're never going wrong. I think that's just only a good thing, and we can only do so much, right? But it's still worth doing.
Yeah,
whatever you're able to do, if it's a step up, it's a step up, and that's great.
Yeah. And once something, you see some evidence or an example of one of those questions right in front of your face, it's hard to ignore it. So like when you showed the photo of your falsie after being under some UV light compared to something labeled as a high yellow that wasn't under, and it was 10 times brighter. It's like, you can't ignore something that's right in front of your face like that.
Right.
We might not have the data and the blood test results to quantify and put numbers at it that says science validates it, but like, if you see it.
Oh yeah, and especially with a species like that where the natural history completely backs that up. They're a diurnal active hunter in like wetland plains. Like those dudes are getting sunlight. There's no question about it. It's really cool when what you see in the box in your room can be backed up by what these snakes evolved to do. For me, that there's like a magic connection there, like moment. Like, it's just great. Yeah. It makes it more fulfilling for me personally.
Right. Yeah. I think one of the coolest things that I like seeing on YouTube nowadays is people custom building nice big vivariums, doing like carved backgrounds and making rock work and trying to replicate the natural landscape of the species they're building it for, and then they put the animal in it, and then you see them like disappear into the foliage or like position themselves in such a way hunting where it's natural, like draped off a cliff or whatever it is. It's really, really cool to see that. And it's not because like that animal needs that per se, but it's because the person wants to see it and they just hook their animal up like that. And it's just, I don't know, it's really cool to see other people doing that. I think, you know, Beach's Scaly Beast is probably one of my favorite channels right now because of that. He does amazing background builds for his little monitors. It's very well thought out and filmed thoroughly, and it's just honest and acknowledges all the shortcomings or challenges and stuff, and it makes me want to do that. And yeah, I just really loving the way the hobby is shifting right now. It's cool.
I can't wait for my Ruffy to get a little bigger. I definitely want to do one of those artificial, like, rocky outcropping things with little ledges and stuff like people do. Yeah. Like, that's just going to be so cool.
I think it would even be cool to just make something to put in your existing cages. Like, even if you don't have the ability to modify an entire cage and like do all that, dude, just get some foam, seal it up, carve it out, make a rock thing, and get some magnets and pop that sucker in there. And there you go.
I could do it. I could do it to these, you know, like it, like you said, you don't have to make a whole new crazy thing. Like, you can always improve on what you have.
It doesn't even have to look natural or pretty. You can go get, you know, 1/2-inch PVC, some cutters, a bunch of caps and unions, and cut stuff up and make little platforms, and, you know, just get creative. You could really, with Morelia, you can really experiment to no end. You can really go as creative as your mind will let you, and, you know, and then start somewhere, figure it out, and evolve it and grow, and, you know, look back on 5 years later and see where you started and where you're at, and you'll be pretty blown away. But
that's for damn sure.
Yeah.
5 years ago, I'm excited I had a corn snake in a glass fish tank. That was it.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
And it's kind of scary.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that 22 years ago, I had a California king snake in a 20-gallon terrarium with blue and green play sand, a fake log, a water ditch, some plastic plants, and Scotch tape holding the lid in because that sucker kept getting out all the damn time. And that was that. I don't even think I had any heat on it. I don't think I had a lamp or anything. It's just in the Bay Area, just like rocking room temperature. You know,
lamp repeltis with no lamp.
Yeah, exactly. Just, you know, rocking the ambient, just dealing with it. And man, that snake got out every freaking month.
Yeah, they're good at that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy where the hobby has come. Like, just looking at, you know, the basic tools and materials available, and then all the extras and thermostats and phone apps, and like, it's crazy, dude. It's crazy. We're in the middle of a revolution and we don't even see it.
I agree.
Yeah, it's cool. 100%. The people who are gonna wake up and capitalize on it are the people who are gonna enjoy it while they're here. You got to be present in what's going on and think about what we've come from. You know, every time I hear, sorry, did you hear that?
Yeah, I
did. That was my Crebo climbing up on the death lip of this 6-foot cage, falling down.
Love it.
But yeah, if you are asleep through all of this, life is gonna pass you by, and I love hearing the interviews with like Pete Kuhn that Eric and Owen did on NPR, talking about, you know, back when dimmer switches were like the only thing they had, and light bulbs, and making your own. I mean, it's just so humbling, and I think we're pretty darn blessed to have companies that manufacture equipment to make this possible for us, you know, as a hobby. Like, we're pretty damn spoiled. So
no, without a doubt, I would be pretty screwed if Herpstat didn't exist. Like, yeah, it's pretty amazing, like you said.
Yeah. So hats off to the guys who came before us and started the hobby and did all the critical thinking and figuring it out before us. So,
absolutely.
Well, I don't have a whole lot else. This show is all freestyled and willy-nilly anyway, but was there anything you wanted to rattle off or throw out there, or anything on the brain? kind of covered what's going on for the season. Any shenanigans that have popped up. I know. Let's see. Eric's back
Eric's
in
back.
town.
He didn't get eaten by a gator.
No, he did not. Well, he's back in the fold working. So your NPR network, Total World Domination, will pick back up.
Yes.
As
We'll
of
see
today.
if he actually uploads the audio from the intern performance review episode.
Or if he just magically makes the episode disappear.
Maybe it'll just live on YouTube.
No, that one just the audio file got corrupted and disappeared.
Yeah,
Sorry.
so if you haven't seen that, watch it before Eric gets to it.
Or don't. I mean, subscribe to the YouTube channel, but you don't have to watch that.
It wasn't that bad. I think we did okay.
What is this wee stuff?
You were there, don't you remember?
Yeah, I was there.
No, I don't think I've got anything else.
Right.
Yeah, just fingers crossed that all these Bruttles locks turn into something, and we'll keep hoping that eggs continue to go well. Eggs that have been laid.
Yep.
Yeah,
Shoot. You and me both.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna go.
Anybody else?
I have a resurgence in motivation for trying to figure out editing on iMovie at some point. That damn. I'm lazy.
Feel free to message me with anything on there.
Yeah. I might
help.
I might let you know. So I'll see what I can figure out, and if I get stuck, I'll hit you and Eric up again. But
perfect. Well, yeah, it's a beautiful day. Can end a little early.
Yeah. We can end a little early. I know you've got a test coming up, so
I gotta go take a mammal final. Yep.
Got it. Mammals get their time, I suppose. They're sort of important, I guess.
They're there.
Yeah, they exist.
We are those.
Yeah, we are. Oh yeah, damn it. All right. We'll let them slide this time.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so for wrapping this up, for everybody who's listening and or watching, thank you for tuning in live. For those of you who are listening and or watching later, thank you for checking it out, and thank you for the continued support. Squirrel! And the NPR network is the brainchild and the baby of Eric and Owen's 10 years of podcast domination. So be sure to check out the original OG show, NPR. Check out NPR online, MoreliaPythonRadio.com. Check out the Morelia Python Radio Network YouTube channel. Go subscribe. And within the Morelia Python Radio Network, there is a litany of shows. Okay. There's a lot, and I'm going to try and get this right.
Excellent.
And
I'm off the hook.
I'm going to try and not forget any, but no promises. So we're going to start with the OG, NPR, Morelia Python Radio. You've got Carpet Cliff Notes. You've got Carpets and Coffee, which is what we are doing right now. You've got Humans of Herpetoculture. You've got the Field Herping Podcast. You've got the Monitor Lizard Keeping Podcast. You've got Colubrid Corner. You've got Herp History. We've got the Australian Herpetoculture podcast that's on there now. And
Student of the Serpent?
Student of the Serpent makes number 10. Is that it?
Did you do Colubrid Corner?
Yeah. Of course.
Did you do...
I did Humans of Herpetoculture. I did Carpet Cliff Notes. I got Carpets and Coffee. I got the new Australian Herpetoculture podcast.
I think you got it.
I think I got it. And then as far as the individual personnel within NPR, there's obviously Eric at EB Morelia. You can look him up under anything EB Morelia related. Owen, Rogue Reptiles. Alan is
Origins, right?
Reptile. Kai is Big Lizard 1, the letter O and 3 on Instagram or on YouTube under Mangrove Mecca. Go give his videos a follow. He did some years ago and then took a break, and now he's getting back into putting some stuff on YouTube. So it's pretty interesting.
More content.
Yep. So if you like monitor stuff, we've brought some of that into the fold. For me, you can find me on YouTube under Riley Jimison or on socials under Riley's Reptiles. And take it away, Lucas.
For me, you can find me on all of the things at Centralian Exotics, www.centralianexotics.com.
Squirrel.
Squirrel.
And with that note, squirrel.
Perfect. Well, Riley, always a pleasure, my friend.
Yes,
Thanks for
sir.
hanging out. Everybody in the chat, thanks for hanging out. We'll see you next week.
Yes, sir. Adios.
Bye.